struggle is real.
What's up, you guys? This is your girl Sierra Wyatt, back with another video. I am here to actually do my first story time. I'm actually going to do a series of these, so be on the lookout. But today's video, first of all, if this is your first time, please go and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification button if you want to continue to get more of my videos. Okay. Again, like I said, my name is Sierra Wyatt. I've named this channel Styling My Life because it's all about me making changes in my life, doing something different, reflecting, seeing the things that I need to take off and put on, doing something different as far as my look, how I feel inside, and also helping somebody else in the process. So that's just a little bit of what this channel is about for those who have not been to my channel before. But thank you so much for coming to hear me talk a little bit about myself and some things that I've actually been through, and hopefully this will be something that will help you. And as you can tell by the title, it's what you think, but it's not what you think. Okay, this story time is something that is very personal to me, and it involves a few people. But I'm not going to mention any names because I have mentioned their name before in somewhere else, but this is not about them. This is about something that I've personally been through, and they just happen to be a part of it, but I'm not going to mention any names per se. So let's just jump right into it. Okay, so this story time is about me actually conceiving a child with a married man. Okay, so how did we meet? This is not some stranger, somebody that I've never been involved with before. This is somebody that I actually met in high school, and he was my quote-unquote boyfriend in high school. I actually met back up decades after seeing him. I mean, I've ran across him a few times on Facebook, but only a couple times. We never talked or anything else. During that time that I did see him, I saw that he was actually engaged, but didn't know he was married. And then so when we finally linked back up, he reached out to me on Facebook. He messaged me just out of the blue. I didn't go looking for him. I didn't reach out to him. And he met me at a very vulnerable state in my life where I was just getting a divorce, finally living on my own. It was just, to me, like, you know how we do. If you meet somebody after meeting them, not seeing them in years, it's like, okay, maybe this is a sign from God, you know. But, yeah, it was a sign to run, but I didn't know that at the time. So my state of mind at that time, yes, I was just getting a divorce, actually November of 2013. Met him in March, I believe. Yeah, March, the beginning of March 2014. During that time, I probably shouldn't have been dating anybody. I wasn't serious with anybody afterwards. I kind of tried to date a little bit. That didn't work out very well. But we will get into that story time one day. But this one is about this one subject. So, long story short, met up with him. He reached out to me, or met up with him after he reached out to me on Facebook. Maybe like a day or so later, he was in town. He lived in Atlanta, and I was like, hey, what the heck, you know, I can use a little date or something. So my state of mind at that time was, you know, I was just trying to in some way replace what I had before, which is, I mean, kind of not good to have that mindset going in. So, but I was like, okay, I'll do it. Go and meet this guy. We went to the park and talked, and you know, there were a few things that he said that was a little bit of a red flag to me, and But I was at that time committed to being abstinent, not sleeping around with anybody. I wanted to recommit myself to God and just have a new overhaul and more control over my life than I've had before. And so it was just a time where I'm just trying to get to know me, and I wasn't trying to be really involved with anybody to that extent. And I was like, you know what, maybe I should just try it out and see what happens. I wasn't planning to get too serious too soon, but it kind of happened anyway. But I was really sticking to my guns, not trying to have sex or anything. And he was a minister of music. He preached a little bit. I saw a couple of his videos of him preaching. He's been playing music almost his whole life. And he was over ministry of music at one of the churches that he went to in Atlanta, Georgia. So, and I wanted to respect that. I wanted to respect the fact that, hey, this is a man of God. You know, this is who he is. I don't want to interfere with that. And I'm on a new path in my life. And then he also told me that he was abstinent and he wasn't sleeping around with anybody. So I was like, hey, perfect. I don't have to worry about him trying to do anything. And so we went almost 30 days. Well, I think it was exactly 30 days. To where we never slept with each other or anything. And then there was this interesting turn of events where you know, there was talk about marriage and different things like that, and I told him I wasn't going to sleep with him until we was married. So there was this whole thing that I don't even want to get into, but it was a whole bunch of things that kind of he kind of spun a web around me, thinking that that we was gonna get married. And one of the nights that we was actually planning on doing it, that was the night that we actually slept together. Well, actually that day we slept together twice in that day. And after that we went out to dinner, and he told me that he had to go and play some music for a church there while he was there, and he was going to hang out with one of his friends. And I was like, okay, no big deal. So he went to go hang out with one of his friends, and yeah, I never saw him anymore after that, unfortunately, but fortunately. And so, I mean, I heard him say, I knew he had a child by somebody else. I knew it was about the person that I thought he was only engaged to. When we first talked on Facebook, when he messaged me, I asked him about his engagement, and I thought that he got married. He said it didn't work out. I could actually probably still show y'all that message. Maybe I'll, you know, show you the message in a photo or something like that, so you can see that I'm not lying about that. But he told me he was never married, it didn't work out, yada yada yada. And I was like, okay, well, he's single. I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about interfering with nobody's marriage or anything like that. Because I found out what his ex, or what the lady he had the baby by, what her name was. He said her name maybe a couple times. I looked her up on Facebook, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to reach out to her and see what the deal is, because it's like the whole night I'm sitting up here calling him. He responded to my message like once or twice that day. Like later on, it's like I went to church too. That's the other thing I'm missing out. I went to church. That we had a revival at our church. I went to church that night, and miraculously enough, like during that time, I went to there was this lady preacher. I think it was a women's conference. It was something like that. So I went to the conference, and we had to give our offering towards the end. We gave an offering, and as I went up to the offering basket, the woman of God that was there said to me, as soon as I put it in my money in the basket, she said to me, hey, you, God told me to tell you not to worry about anything. Don't fear anything, because he has you covered. And during that time, I was like, you know, I thought that was a good sign that me and this guy, we're gonna have a happy life. He got me covered. I misinterpreted that whole thing. I interpreted it to be what I wanted it to be at that time. And so I thought that that was what she was talking about, certain, you know, along those lines. And so I was like, hey, maybe I did make the right decision, you know. And so when I went home, I messaged him. It was like, I think I left the church around maybe 9 o'clock, because it was an evening service. So it was like 9:30 after I spoke to a few people and everything. And then I went home, and then I texted him, got a response. He said he went out to get some drinks with his friend, and he was on his way after that. And so that was like 9:30. Then 10:30 came around, 11 o'clock. Hey, are you still coming? No response. He did not respond to me. I don't remember the exact time, but he did not respond to me. And then I messaged him again around 12 o'clock. Still nothing. And then I went to look at, you know, went to his social media, messaged him on his, can't even talk right, on Facebook. And there was nothing. Like, he didn't respond to me there, he didn't respond to me in his messages. So now I'm starting to think that maybe this guy just wanted to sleep with me. He waited this long, went to the lengths of trying to marry me. Then he wanted to sleep with me. And then he got what he wanted. And like I said, during that time, I did not know that he was married. There was only one clue that I thought that maybe he was lying to me. And that's when I went to her Facebook page, the girl that he had the baby by, and I noticed that she had her name and then his last name beside it. And I asked him about it, and he said that, and this is before he came to see me that last time, before sleeping together. And I was like, so God was trying to give me red flags. Like, he was trying to give me warnings about things, but I thought the stuff that I was feeling was just fear of some things that I've been through, and I thought I was just misreading everything. You know, don't ignore the signs. Like, if you getting sign after sign that something's not right, and it's probably not right, okay? So that was my big thing. And so I kept going. I would go to work, I would feel like having anxiety. I would have these anxiety attacks and didn't know why. I'm like, God, what is wrong with me? The day before he came, he tried to give me a warning through one of the friends that I had. He was like, you know what, something don't feel right. And I ignored it because the person that was giving me the information was actually somebody that had feelings for me. So I was like, well, maybe he's just trying to hate. Maybe he just don't want me to be with this person because he want me for himself. And it was really God just giving me warnings then. And then like a couple hours later, he showed up, and you know, then things happened after that. But yeah, so after he didn't show up, the very next morning I went back to her page. Well, the story he told me was, when I asked him about the girl's name, and I asked why would she put this on a flyer. This was on a flyer for her to minister somewhere. So I'm like, why would she put this person's name, your last name, by there if you were never married to her? And he was like, well, we were about to get married, so she decided to put her name on there. You know, put her last name, since around that time her name was going to change anyway. So that's what she did. And I was like, but he was always quick on his feet. He was such a, when I say he was a good liar, he was so good. Like, it made me think, like, it makes sense, but something in my spirit was like, it don't make sense, because why would somebody do that? You know. And so that was a couple days before, I believe, a couple days before he came to see me. And then the very next day, there was another red flag where he used to send me pictures of him in his bathroom. And I didn't think nothing of it. I was like, maybe his room is just junky, and he just don't want to, you know, want me to see his mess in his room or whatever. I was like, if we're gonna be serious, I should be able to see all of that. And so a part of me was like, okay, I have to be able to trust him because he lives kind of far away. maybe an hour and a half away from me. So if he's in another city, I have to be able to trust him. So I didn't want to put anything on him from any relationship or any involvement that I've had with anybody else. So basically giving him a clean slate. And so after the day before, like I said, he had a picture of himself in a bathroom. Well, before he had a picture, he used to send me pictures of him in the bathroom. Then this next time he sent me the picture, the day before he came, he took a picture in the bathroom, but he didn't quite cover his tracks quite well, because in the other bathroom it looked a little different than the one he went to. And I can recall him saying that, hey, I had one bathroom, and then in this story he said he had two bathrooms, and that was his fiance's or ex's things in the background. So he was in the bathroom, I saw a feminine product, and I was like, I use that product, so I know there's another female product, and this bathroom looks a little different. His story was, like I said, that this is my other bathroom, and my ex left her stuff in the other bathroom. I mean, in the bathroom, and she never came back and got it. I said, from a year ago? He was like, yeah, she just never came back and got it. So I was like, okay, do I believe this, or do I, but either way, I chose not to go too deep into it. And I guess, I don't know, maybe a part of me didn't want to believe it, or a part of me was still like, I believed it, but then I didn't believe it. But then I was like, okay, but you still gotta trust what he says. If you plan on being serious with this person, you plan on, getting, he was showing me places that we were gonna move, showing me pictures of houses that he was looking at for me and my family. Like, this person said, he seemed so real, so serious, like he's about to change our lives. And remind you, I'm in the apartment, and it wasn't about the money or anything like that. It wasn't about, I mean, every woman wants to feel secure. They want to know that the guy that they're with can take care of them. It was more about that, having security, knowing that the person I'm with, and can take care of me. And then I was like, he's a man of God. There's no way that he would lie about this thing, and that's not to say that people who are Christians don't lie, because they do. Some of them do. They don't have it all right, okay? So that I had to, a little of me was being a little naive, because I was married with the same person for almost 10 years. So I didn't have to deal with anybody else. So this was like all new to me, so I was a little naive, a little bit, but the other part of me was like, okay, so if you having this new life and this person in another state, you gotta have a level of trust to be able to deal with somebody. And I was like, it can't be too bad, because he's a man of God, and he's not gonna do this, that, and the other. And yeah, it turns out that some of them are a little worse than we think they are. And I believe he had a great heart. I believe his intentions, he really wanted to do the right thing, but at the same time, maybe he just didn't know how to. And I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was, in the transition of getting a divorce. I didn't go that deep into asking anything, Actually, I did ask some things, and this is where it gets real serious, and how I found out he was married. It's because, like I said before, I knew about the girl he was about to get married to, and I went to Facebook, messaged her, and in the part of the message that I sent her, I asked her why didn't she get married to such and such, and she was like, what do you mean why we didn't get married? She was like, we're still married. And that's when my heart like fell through the floor. I was like, are you like, I really felt like I was in a dream, like I was in some type of Lifetime movie, like. And it's not all his fault. Some of it is my fault, because I saw certain signs and I chose to ignore them, thinking that it was just me and not like God trying to show me some things. So it was partially my fault, but at the same time, I was fooled. Yeah, I was fooled. And so I thought that I was done with seeing him. I was like, for some reason I was angry, but I was okay. It was like, you know what? I'm good. But I wasn't good. I said I was good, but I really wasn't good. I shut all the way down. I was like, God, if I'm sitting up here really trying to keep myself and I get fooled like this, I might as well just do what I want to do anyway. That was the attitude that I took. That was me being good, but not good. And so after that, things kind of just went downhill from there with me emotionally. I didn't, I didn't care too much about anything after that. I mean, of course, I felt like a fool. I felt like I was so humiliated. And then the thing is, even in that, I still had the strength in me to pray with her, because I knew, it wasn't something I intentionally tried to do. And I think she knew that as well, but it still hurts, but the person that was hurting the most is her. And so I was like, you know what? This isn't just about me. This is somebody's life. This is a married woman who has a child by this person who's been dealing with him for over a year. And, she's never heard anything like this before, is what she was told, what she told me. And I showed her pictures. I sent her messages. He was pulling up in the driveway when I was on the phone with her. She had her phone in the back pocket. I could hear their conversation. And he was denying everything. Like, she had proof, and he was still lying. So I'm like, I dodged a bullet. I was so grateful to God in some way that I dodged a bullet. And then 3 days later, I started feeling weird. Yeah, 3 days later, I knew for some reason the atmosphere changed. Something in me changed. My body started feeling different. And that's when I had a thought that I think I may be pregnant. But I didn't want to put too much thought into it. So during the time I was going to the gym, I worked out all the time. I went to the gym almost every day. You hear me? I was like, I'm just going to keep going like I didn't just sense what I just sensed. Because I knew I've been pregnant before, 4 times before. So I knew what being pregnant felt like. And you can almost immediately feel when you're pregnant. Once that baby, the sperm go to the sac and through the fallopian tube and all this kind of stuff, your body immediately changes. If you haven't been pregnant before, you may not notice it right off bat. But when you've been pregnant before, you know. And so I just ignored it. I was in denial, went on by my day. My life was like, okay. And then I think it was like a month later, it was my son, April 1st. It was my son's birthday. And April 1st was my son's birthday. And I remember like that weekend, I was asking my ex not to bring his girlfriend because I just wasn't ready to deal with that whole thing for some reason. I was good before that. Like I was saying, I was good emotionally. I was feeling good about myself. I was like, whew, I don't have to deal with this guy no more. Thank you, Jesus. And then I had a pregnancy test. I was emotional. I didn't take the pregnancy test until after my son's birthday party the next day. And I remember just laying in my bed and I was like, why am I so emotional? I was trying to get my ex not to bring his girlfriend. Didn't want to deal with that. I just wanted to enjoy my son's first birthday party. He was turning 4 or 5. I don't remember. No, he was turning like 5, I believe. And that was his first big birthday party. I mean, we've done things for him before, but that was his first big birthday party. And so I was like, I'm not up to it. I don't know why. I was at work when I talked to him and I just started crying. Because he was like, I'm going to do what I want to do. You can't tell me what to do. And I was like, and I did it respectfully. I didn't call him by his name. I didn't disrespect her. There was just one request that I was asking. And he said, I'm going to do it anyway, regardless of what you say. I don't have to do whatever you're telling me to do. So I was like, okay. As soon as I hung up, I bawled. Before I was crying while I was talking to him, begging him not to do it. And during that time, I was like, what the heck is wrong with me? I normally have more control than this. And so my emotions was just all over the place. And so the very next day after that party, I regretted going to the party because of some of the things that I was feeling. And then I did something stupid the same day. And then when I got home and rested the very next day, I didn't have to work or anything. And I remember thinking to myself, just laying there, just thinking to myself. And then I jumped up like this. I was like, oh my God, my period. I don't think I got my period this month. And I just started panicking. And I remember that I had this extra pregnancy test that was just in my house, because I bought one from a while ago, and it was 2 in the box. And then the first one was that, you know, that I taken was negative, so I still had another pregnancy test. So I went scrambling for that test, and I was like, oh my God, where's that test? And I knew I had to take it because something wasn't right. I wasn't feeling sick or anything. I was feeling fine. And then I was like, something's not right. I don't have my period. I didn't remember the last time I had it at that point, but I knew it had at least been a month, maybe a month and a week or so. I don't remember the exact date we slept together, but then I knew when it was. But yeah, so I went to go take this test. And when I say that thing took no time to give me the results, like immediately that next line showed up. It wasn't a minute, it wasn't 3 minutes, it was like literally 30 seconds. And you would have thought that I was in a freaking theatrical movie, because I freaked out. And I was there by myself. My kids wasn't there. I didn't have anybody around me. And I was like, God, what am I gonna do? I cried. I stopped crying. Then I was like just screaming. And then I stopped screaming. And then I was like, I called one of my friends at the time. And I was like, you gotta come here because I have something to tell you. And the friend that I called was a guy. It was somebody that I was really, you know, we were trying to date. But then we became friends afterwards because it just wasn't working out. And it was just like, you know. And then he had the nerve to tell me that that should have been his baby. No, not really. I didn't want it to be mine. So I didn't know what to do. Y'all, that's when my whole life changed a lot. I didn't know if I was going to keep him. You know, my mom and my dad, both of them thought that I should get an abortion. And I was so shocked that my dad was going to pay for it. Then after I told the guy he was going to help pay for it, he didn't want anything to do with it. He made that very apparent up front. And then he was going to come to my house one night after finding out that I was pregnant. And I told him, and it's like 12 o'clock at night. And I was like, if you show up, I'm going to message your wife and tell her that, you know, if you're going to continue coming, I'm going to tell your wife that I'm pregnant. And he acted like he was still going to come. And remind you, it's like midnight, after 12 o'clock. What are you coming to my house for? That was my feeling at the time. I'm already like shaken up by the situation. And you want to come to my house? Like, you may try to hurt me. You may try to do something stupid. I mean, I don't know what you coming here for at 12 o'clock at night. Like, there's no reason. And I was like, listen, if you want to meet me, you can meet me in the daytime, at a restaurant or something, out in public. I am not meeting you by myself. And he's proceeded to want to come. And without thinking what time it was, I sent her a picture of the pregnancy test. And I wasn't thinking about how she would feel at the time. I was thinking about covering myself, because I wanted her to know, if something happened to me, I wanted her to know that your husband got me pregnant. And that's all I was thinking about. And I wish I would have thought more about it, about how it would make her feel. And she reacted the next day. She was very pissed, you know, and thought that I was just trying to, you know, stir up some stuff. And I can understand. I wasn't even mad at her for responding that way, because I was wasn't thinking clearly about that whole situation. I was just thinking about, you know, protecting myself, letting her know that, you know, this is what it is, and just in case anything happened to me, I just wanted you to know that I have proof that he got me pregnant, and this is it, proof. And it was just a warning as well. So I wasn't trying to be like this, trying to be a home wrecker. I wasn't trying to mess with nobody's feelings. I was really purely just thinking about my feelings at the time, which was selfish, but I responded out of fear. And yeah, I should have waited a little bit to see if he was going to come and let her find out another way, but couldn't do nothing about it at that point. So yeah, maybe I'll do a part 2 of this, because this is this is a lot about one video. I'm definitely gonna do a Q&A, so if you guys have any questions about anything, how I dealt with the situation, what did I do to deal with the situation, what happened afterwards, yeah, I'll get into it. I'll let you know all the things that happened in between time if you really want to know what happened. But again, I still didn't know what I wanted to do as far as keeping him. I was actually seriously thinking about it, and the main reason why I was thinking about it, because I was like, this is another thing that I have for my ex to judge me about, because to me, he was very critical and judgmental of me throughout our whole full relationship, and then afterwards it didn't make it better, because, you know, I was in the middle of trying to keep my kids, and he always went back and forth about the children and whether when I needed help. He didn't want to help me. Yes, he had them up. We had them on a week, off a week, but there are times where, I mean, he was making way more money than I was, and sometimes as a single mom, you may need a little extra help. And so, you know, I just stopped asking him for stuff. I was trying to ask for something one time, and that whole thing got blown out of proportion. I was just moving into my house, and I literally had to go all the way to Atlanta to get food, because my dad bought me food, because I didn't have any food for my house. I didn't have any public assistance or anything like that at that time. And so, you know, I'm like, when my kids get here, I'm not gonna have anything, you know, trying to figure out how I'm gonna feed them. And so I was ashamed of the fact that I'm pregnant, not just pregnant, but pregnant by a married guy. And the whole circumstance of feeling like, okay, I'm a now single mom, don't know how I'm gonna take care of my kids that I have now, and then I have to worry about taking care of an infant. So how am I gonna do that? But it was me talking to my pastor at that time, and shameful as I was, just like talking to your dad, it's like, this is so embarrassing. Like, how do I get myself so involved in this situation to the point where, you know, now I'm pregnant and I don't know what the heck I'm gonna do. But yeah, that's kind of where I was. Long story short, I ended up keeping my child. Um, 4 months into my pregnancy, I met a guy who I'm currently married to. I wasn't really looking for anybody at that time. I was just trying to, you know, get into the swing of dating again, and then I didn't want it to be awkward or anything. So that's when I kind of went into just dating a little bit more, and I met him online. And so after meeting him, he just became a really good person to me. I wasn't looking for anything. I was actually, about that time, I started to be okay with just being by myself, because I didn't trust nobody. Just gonna be real, I had trust issues. And then I was like, you know what, God, you're gonna have to deal with my heart. Help me to forgive. I end up, you know, forgiving the guy. That's where it kind of started, but I hadn't yet forgiven myself. And so I still had, you know, this detachment because I was actually planning on giving my child up for adoption. I don't know, God kind of worked these things out better than I thought he would. And but yeah, I'm gonna have to do up to be continued because my camera's about to go dead. And yeah, I'm gonna tell you some of the processes of the things that I've been through during that process of carrying him and so forth. But I'm gonna get back to you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, ask questions, and I will get back to you guys with any questions that you have, and I will respond. All right, but for now, I'll see you guys in another video. Bye.
I can't give up.
I don't wanna lose 'em. I'm trying to